So we've got here a case of distrust. I've got a few. Oops, let me turn the volume down actually a little bit. I've got a few kind of detective-y games, and this is one of them. I awoke in my desk chair. Across from me were his piercing amber eyes. They surprised me at first, but I should have known he'd be there. I stretched and said, mid-yawn, "It's not very nice to sneak into a sleeping woman's apartment," but his stare just continued. I laughed at his glare. I'd seen San Francisco's shrewd thugs, hardened cops, and deadly politicians, but none could ever match that gaze. I knew I didn't have what he wanted. Reaching into my coat, I took out my knife and flicked it open. I held the knife steady while staring back at him. "Look," I said, nodding towards the desk. "That's all there is. Take it or leave it. But a detective knows when she's beat, and I knew then he wanted to search the place, and that's what he would do." I sighed, knowing my weakness for his type. "All right," I said, "let's look." Give me like a cat or something? Yeah. He let out a gleeful meow in victory. I cut a piece of my apple that the cat had rejected. "Always the sore winner," I jabbed. But I was smiling too, because I was telling the truth. There was absolutely no other food in my apartment. The cat often dropped by to scavenge. He made a lot of noise when he thought I was holding out on him, but right now the place was clean empty. No food anywhere. I had to prove it to him. That lamp had belonged to my uncle Louis. He's been a San Francisco police officer, one who argued policewomen could be good detectives, even while the others jeered at me. I knew he'd been right. My current workload didn't help that claim. I thought about Louis more often than I wanted. I was lousy at handling the emotions behind those thoughts. The cat had waltzed into my apartment a few years earlier. He kept coming back, though there was rarely a morsel to eat. He'd continue his loud meowing until I proved to him the place was empty of food. "Doesn't matter how doe-eyed you are, cutie pie. We've got no food around," I told him. He licked his chops and looked at me. Apparently he still didn't believe that. I needed to contradict him somehow, to show him something in the apartment that would prove it was empty of food. Went back to the apartment to search for clues that I could show to him. Okay, I'm liking this so far. What is this? I had taken copies of old murder cases from the SFPD records when I'd left. I loved reading through them, even though my own contributions were minimal. At the time, I longed for those types of jobs. The truth is, any work was hard to find for a female detective. I kept a small statue underneath the side table. Had been police evidence in a crime, and its owner hadn't wanted it back. I took a shine to it, so I snagged it for myself on the way out of the department. A newspaper was flopped on the floor. Its headline about the death of Lenin, leader of the Red Menace sweeping Russia, seemed that Bolsheviks had lost their head. My old notebook, now filled to the brim, I wrote everything down, even the minor details. Never know what could be useful. The first half had my old cases, details from the beats I used to walk in my policewoman days. Of course, policewomen were forbidden from going on patrol, but Louis often overlooked that rule. The regular white icebox, tinged yellow with age, half blocked the kitchen doorway. My income rarely kept much stocked in it. Right now it was empty. What's that? Notes. Oh. Sure the cat there's no food? Okay. I got no statements. Okay, I'm liking this little tutorial. Alright, let's talk to the cat. Let's contradict him. Alright. Use... Oh, wait. Oh, use this to contradict. I see. I opened the icebox so the cat could see inside. Empty, I told him. The cat looked quizzically at the open door, then back at me. Sorry, fella, there's no grub in there for me either. He stared at me with eyes as disappointed as I felt. Those big yellows always got to my soul. Thoughts of family filled my head. My sister, Muriel, had sent a letter with an update of her life in Chicago. She and her husband had just purchased a new home outside the bluster of the city. Their 3 young children were looking forward to the move. I'd never told Muriel, but those letters... they kept me going. Hearing about my family, however remote, helped me cope with the isolation I was feeling. I'd refused to accept it myself back then, but perhaps Muriel had known anyways. My sister had the ordinary lifestyle that I had rejected. I'd wanted to change the world, to bring justice for victims, especially the ones who no longer had a voice. Not that I was helping advance that cause with the types of cases coming my way. My mind spiraled into the usual series of questions. Had I even impacted the women's movement? Had I made any change in society at all? Was my plodding career worth losing traditional happiness? What was the point of the life I had chosen? A loud meow from the cat snapped my thoughts back for a moment. I took a deep breath and grinned back at him. Guess you can scram now, I said. Nobody's gonna come knocking with food for you, fella. There immediately came a banging on the front door. Beyond a nuisance, this cat was psychic too. You'd order out? I asked him. In the doorway was the regrettably familiar face of Connor Green. His company churned my stomach. It might have been his bergamot perfume, which hung around my nostrils like a lingering, unwanted guest. Or that sordid smile, which was forever plastered on his face. He stared at me through the doorway with a coy smile. Well, aren't you gonna invite me inside? I started closing the door, but he stuck out a foot to stop me. Hey now, he chided. Foul way to treat a customer, Malone. So that was his angle, hiring me as a detective. I wondered what a bootlegger would need with a private eye, but he answered without my prompt. I'll make this quick. I can't take this to the hog house or the pigs would laugh me out, and the other dicks just aren't as tempting. His grin widened. Thought this was gonna be quick, I said. I started rolling a cigarette. It wasn't quick, and I'd already rolled and lighted the second smoke when Green finally finished his story. I knew the important bits in my book. Had started with a letter, slipped under his door in a white envelope. The envelope contained a single typewritten leaf, which he handed to me. It reads, "End your game or we'll end you." Had no signature, instead ending with only a small scribble at the bottom right corner that resembled a black hand. Green had a lead on a new rum running scheme, a connection from Vancouver. He'd given a sample to Tiny Paul, the gangster who ran the Tin Spoon speakeasy for mob boss Jerry Ferry. They agreed to buy in for more. Green summarized the letter was about his rum running. He suspected Redstone Stable, another bootlegger, of sending the letter. He told me that stable ran a barbershop during the day and gave me the address. Green needed to know who the threat was from. He'd get Paul's gang to deal with them and continue his scheme to get rich. If I go snooping myself, he concluded, folks see I'm not trusting people. No trust leads to no customers. I need to play it low key, which is where you come in. I raised an eyebrow and stared at him through the cigarette smoke. Something in his yarn was still twisted. He must have noticed my reticence because he said, "You know, I work closely with Lewis. I'm sure he'd want to protect me as much as any other victim." My uncle. I was still searching for answers after his death. He'd been a man obsessed with helping victims and bringing justice to those beyond salvation. With that ethos, I never understood how he could have taken his own life. Those thoughts haunted me. I'd quit the SFPD and started my own practice, taking his philosophy. Was Green worth my time? Would he be worth Lewis's? Green had tipped off my uncle in a few cases. Wondered if that was enough to warrant my protection. Before I could think past my headache, he threw a bill in my lap. "Hey, keep the C-note as a retainer. And don't forget about getting in touch. I'll find you later for a chat." He turned down the hallway and I let him go. If he was willing to give me $100 with no commitment, I wouldn't stop him. I turned back to the apartment, still confused about the whole story. My headache wasn't helping either. Whenever I lacked clarity, a trip to Southern Coffee was usually the cure. I had mounted a gold plate on the outside that read PC Malone, Private Investigator. Oh, okay, so now we're going places. I like it. So far, I like this. A lot of reading, but it's really good. It's a nice classic detective story. So far, I should say. There's only one place I needed to go to clear my head. Southern Coffee. Southern Coffee was a basement dive. It wasn't modern, hip, or ever busy. And it was my favorite place to down some paint. Excuse me? Especially in the company of the best bartender in the city. Gave my address and slouched in the back seat of the taxi cab. I thought a good way to pass the journey might be to chat with the driver. I peered out the window until we arrived. Southern Coffee was an automat diner. Ethel Burgess, the lone waitress, was friendly to help with any inquiry. Of course, if you winked at her right, she'd show you the way to the downstairs toilet, where Frankie played bathroom attendant. Southern Coffee had the distinct feeling of home. The familiar smell of mold in that old basement was enough to put a grin on my face. Frank had a bond with that old shaker at the end of the bar. I was surprised he hasn't named it. He could sling a mean drink, though he'd only use a good liquor if he liked you. Frankie liked me. I grabbed the wine bottle on the bar and examined its label. It featured a picture of grapes and the words "sacramental use only." Frankie looked at me with a spark in his eye. "Go ahead," he said. "Give it a swig." Grabbed the half-empty glass that had been next to the bottle and swirled some of its contents between my gums. "A bit spicy, ain't it?" Frankie asked. "It's good," I nodded, and gulped the rest down. It'll cost you too," he said with a smile, and he grabbed the bottle from me. Turning it through his hands. "Rabbis charge more than a nickel for this beauty. Only this type of Napa wine is made from that Zinfandel grape. It has a unique aroma." I've been trying to learn more about wine. Seemed everyone knew their stuff but me. I know what Frankie had said about the origin of the grape as he sent the bottle back on the bar. "Yes. Since when do you know grapes?" I chided. Frankie left out a bellied laugh. Some of these grapes are older than you, Malone, and I've known about them since I was a small tot. It's why I'm so good at my job, you know." Frankie sighed. "Too bad more folks can't taste them. That woman's league is the devil." The Women's Christian Temperance Union was now under feminist Frances Willard, a positive force for the suffrage of women, but her staunch support of prohibition, along with the union's massive political clout, irked the very wet San Franciscan public, and she particularly wasn't popular with bartenders. "Take a seat," he said. "I'll make you something else." He was a big fella, both wide and tall. He must have been a little over 50. He had a round head, kind brown eyes, and a cropped ring of gray hair circling an otherwise bald scalp. His voice had a warm timbre that complemented the tobacco and whiskey smells of his speakeasy. I sat at the bar. "You got the spooks, PC?" he asked. "You're warm as a catcher's mitt." I suppose my exhaustion showed. "I want $100 for nothing, and I can't let it go." Told Frankie about the case, the threatening letter sent to Connor Green, how he assumed it was related to his bootlegging, and his suspicion of Redstone Stable. The story took longer than I wanted, Frankie showing genuine interest by asking many questions. When I finished, he threw me the whiskey sour he had been stirring, took a large gulp, and gave a sigh as thanks. "Well, Green's case is better than what most of you are given," he said with some enthusiasm. "At least it's not more of the adultery bunk." "Sure," I replied, but I started with a goal in mind. What's the point of helping a man like Green? Frankie clicked his tongue on his teeth. "Lawyer or priest? Why does it matter? Let me tell you. Are the clients you have now the types you want to help?" I admitted they weren't. I told him that I'd wanted more from my detecting life. It could be that Green's case shoots your career forward, Malone." I sighed and stared down at my drink. My daze was interrupted by the basement door opening, then slamming shut. A small, blustering woman began marching towards me. She was wearing a light blue cloche hat with a gray ribbon tilted back on her head, a scarf of similar blue draped around her neck. But I was startled by what she wore under it, a gray trench coat that looked too large for her frame, exactly like the one that had belonged to Lewis. She hurled insults at me a while. All I could do was sit and take it, till she ran out of gas and started breathing heavily. I set my drink at the bar and looked her in the eyes. I studied her features more thoroughly. It was plain she was a knockout, now that she'd finished shrieking. Beyond the latest blush and lipstick, she had the natural soft skin and bright eyes, perpetually desired by the opposite sex. While I was eyeing her, she caught her breath and restarted her tirade. "I'm the wife of that bum who sneaks into your bed." "Where'd you get that coat?" I asked her. "What?" she said, confused. "I don't know, my husband gave it to me." "Look, don't change the subject, you floozy. I saw him leave your sty this morning." That was when I gathered she was Connor Green's wife. "Mrs. Green, I'm a PI, not a homewrecker. I don't think your husband, in his line of business, would want to bet a dick anyhow." Her look was pure incredulity. "A woman in that line of work?" she questioned. "I don't believe it." Let's show this to her. Told her about why Connor had come to me, the bootlegging and the threats. "You see, Mrs. Green, this is what I do. There's not much more I can show you to prove it." It still looked more coaxing for her to believe me. It still took more coaxing. Eventually she came around. She seemed grateful I'd explained it to her. Apparently she had seen her husband leave my apartment and, distraught, she had followed me all the way to Frankie's basement and decided to confront me. "I suppose I lost my head after what I thought I'd seen," she said. She began to cry. Frankie, ever chivalrous to a dimpled girl, came round the bar and held her up. "Now that's all right, Miss Green. Why don't I hail you a cab and send you back home?" She agreed, and they walked together up the stairs. "Frankie returned," I said to him. "You turned the night real quick." He snorted a laugh. "Oh, hell, we can't have that siren in here. With a torch yelling like that, every street bugger would have to come in her rescue." Mrs. Green was a torch singer? "Well, I learned she was Mrs. Connor Green just now, when she came in here. I'd only see a little Fanny, singing lead for that jazz band of the Tin Spoon." "A Tin Spoon," I said. "Tiny Paul's joint? That's where Green's selling his liquor." "So you'd think that's where she met her husband?" I laughed. "You're the real sleuth, Frankie." He made a sarcastic bow. I shook my head. You're telling me you escorted a little torture out just to avoid a bit of hot water? Frankie flushed and said, What are you talking about, Malone? I was never good with emotions, but it was plain that Frankie had instantly fallen for the girl. So what if I had more to squeeze out of her, I said. What more could you possibly want from little Fanny? She can't have anything to do with Green's mess. But can she? I don't think I have anything to contradict that. I considered Frankie's point. Maybe she was unrelated to this case. I shrugged and stood up from the bar stool. What just happened was quite the ruckus. Seemed like my cue was to move along. I was heading to the stairs when Frankie called after me. So what are you gonna do? I've been thinking. About little Fanny. Suppose even mobsters had people who cared about him. She'd been wearing Lewis's old jacket. So perhaps Green and Lewis had been closer than I realized. Guess I'll take Connor Green's bait, I replied. I've got nothing better on the stove and he might need the help. Something still stinks though. Well, what's your plan? Frankie asked. The way I see it, I've got 3 goals right now. Green hired me for a job. Find the guy who wrote the letter. That's the basic part. Yeah, but you want more? Asked Frankie. I nodded. Green's a shady character. To learn about him. Who is this guy? Digging his past. Can't go back to him blind. And then there's something about his bootlegging. How did Green get a connection like that? What's his source exactly? Squeezing that lemon might give me more juice. It sounds alright, he replied. So where's he off to? I've got 3 leads. That bootlegger stable who Green claims sent him the letter. The Tin Spoon Lounge where I might learn more about Green's rum-running schemes. And Mrs. Green who could give me more dirt on her husband. Frankie nodded his approval. Well, if you ever stuck, come back and see me. You can never solve anything without talking it over. I smiled and went up the stairs. Let's see what we can get on the Tin Spoon. The Tin Spoon Lounge was a speakeasy in North Beach run by Tiny Paul, the gangster who Green had put in with. I'd never been there. The mob keeps a tight lip on their own houses. I figured it'd be a good place to chase Green's bootlegging story. I entered a taxi cab driven by an old man with a mustache. He turned to me with eyes that had a playful glint. Hey, sorry, he said in a rough voice. This is the end of the demo. I can't take you any further. I didn't know exactly what he meant, but something that gaze made me understand. If you'd like to purchase the full version, if you'd like to purchase the full version, that'd be swell, he continued. Once you do that, you can keep going right where you left off. But for right now, please take it to the main menu. I nodded and went my way. That's fun. I like little detective games like this. This is very, it's a very unique way to present their game. I really like it. Everything's in, everything's like in a different shade of the same color on the screen. I think that's really fun. I don't know. I think I wouldn't mind playing it. I'd probably have to get, if I were to play it on stream, I'd probably have to get some people to voice it with me. Oh, cause man, it's a lot of talking for one person. Let me tell you. But it's pretty fun.